Hit Me Hard and Hit Me Soft. Today we will be talking about what I think will be album of the year. Actually no, what I know will be album of the year. Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft. It came out in May of 2024 and it is a spectacular album, groundbreaking album by her. Honestly, even in pop music today, and I just want to talk about it because I think it is truly something special. And I think she deserves album of the year. I think she's gonna win it. Honestly, I hope she wins it. Before we get into it, I want to make a disclaimer that this is by no means a technical analysis at all. First, I would like to compare her previous albums to her new one and just point out how different they are. But I mostly want to talk about the first one compared to the third one. So Hit Me Hard and Soft compared to When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? First of all, like, she completely took off with the third album from the first two. I mean, the first album I would say is mostly drum and bass heavy, mostly sits in like the low end compared to the mids, compared to the highs, mostly sits in the low, and the vocals are on top. I would say driving each song, like melodically driving each song. And I think that is mostly her first album kind of described, and it did super well. I mean, that is the whole vibe of the first album, and that is why it did so well. Like, genuinely, it's just so different from the third one. And the third one, Hit Me Hard and Soft, I would say it's kind of like a mix of everything. Like, I would say low, mid, high, but I feel like even mostly mid and highs. And I don't think her vocals drive each song in this album. I think the instruments kind of take lead a lot of the time, because there's a lot of like strings, there's a lot of synth, there's a lot of just like other instruments kind of taking over, which was a complete like difference from her honestly first two albums. This new album definitely has her best vocal performance by far, I would say. Like, she really leaned into her range and discovered a lot of things that she probably didn't know she could do. And I know that because I watched interviews and she said that she was actually seeing a vocal coach for the first time, I think. And so she got to learn more about her range and just like the way she sings. And she said recently that she actually has a really like lower range than she thought she did. More de ma vie. Sorry if I say that wrong. But if you listen to that one, you could really hear her vocal low range on that song. She also hits the highest note she's hit in a song before, I think ever, in Birds of a Feather, and she said that she kind of did that on accident. I know in the interview in Apple Music she said she was trying to go a little bit higher as a harmony, but she was alone, the mic in her hand recording this. Phineas wasn't even in the room, and she just said like, why not go higher? And then she ended up hitting that high note. She also was belting a lot on this album, which I've never heard her belt before. And what I just talked about, her hitting that super high note, was a belt. And she said that like that was definitely out of her comfort zone. She never used to belt on her songs. Like, I think as a great artist, you should grow and evolve. I don't think every single album you come out with should sound the same. I honestly don't think. And I think what separates great music from good music is evolving, honestly. Even if it's just a little bit, even if you don't change genres too much. And I don't think any genre like tops a different genre. I just think if you change and evolve as an artist, and she definitely proved that in this album, that she can grow, she can evolve, she can learn and get better and come out with stuff that sounds completely different. So when they started it, they knew they wanted to make something that they were extremely proud of and that they themselves loved. So they thought like, okay, let's make something that could only just be listened to by us. Like, would we like it? Would we enjoy it? And they did. And obviously they shared it. Like, that was the whole intent of like them putting it out. But they had that mindset of like, let's just make something that we love, we enjoy, not thinking about anyone else, not the public, not our audiences, but what we would listen to if no one ended up hearing the album. And that honestly could be why it is the best one, is because they had that mindset going in to like, let's make something that we love first, So Billie Eilish has said that this album is the most true to her, the most her in an album, and you could really just see that they put everything in this album. And yeah, I mean, she has said that she loves it. Like, she is in love with her album, and that's how it should be. I think artists should make music that they love. And even personally as an artist, like, I definitely only make music that I want to listen to, and I think you should do that first and not cater to the public. Obviously, vocally, I think it's like, okay, she has a specific sound, but sonically, this album is completely different sonically than her first two. They actually recorded live drums for this album, and they said that was the first time they ever recorded like live for an album. And another cool thing is this album all blends into each other, which a lot of artists do not do because it's really difficult. They definitely nailed the transitions between each song. Wow, it is crazy. Like, genuinely, whenever I listen to this album, I have to listen to it in one sitting, the whole thing, front to back. Like, this album is meant to be listened to top to bottom in one sitting. It is insane, just like sonically how they do that. The world building, I mean, great albums do world building, and this does it so well. So the second time I listened to this top to bottom, I did a little album analysis thing on my notes app on my phone. I was actually on a plane and I was bored. So, I don't know, there's something about listening to music on planes. I can't be the only one, but it hits so different. Anyways, I just wrote down each song, number 1 to 10, and just said like the vibe that it made me feel. It's not technical whatsoever. It's genuinely going off of vibes. It was just giving ballad, a lot of classical because of the strings, and film score because of the strings at the end. It was just very lyrical. Second, Lunch. Pop, funk, bass, groovy. That was like the most pop one. I thought Lunch was the one that was going to go viral, and they thought that too, but obviously it didn't end up being Lunch. And the bass is super funky, and it's just groovy. It's like the driving bass line. Next we have Chihiro, house, trance, funk. Now you can take that as you will. That is just the vibe I got. House, trance, funk. Moving on. Birds of a Feather. I said 80s power ballad chords, because I don't know if you've listened to like 80s power ballad, but they all have such like a similar chord structure, and the synth is so similar, so that's why it reminded me of an 80s power ballad chord, and that one also felt pretty pop, and that's obviously the one that ended up going viral. Or not going viral, but like that one ended up being the big hit. Next we have Wildflower, and I said indie guitar intro because I thought the intro of it sounded super like an indie rock song, or just like an indie song in general. And then I said pop because it also kind of gave pop. I thought she did a lot of like jazzy harmonies, and the melody was kind of giving jazz. 60s soul, because if you've listened to 60s soul, it just reminded me of that. Rock ballad just reminded me of like a rock ballad. Muse ? I wrote that because the artist, I don't know why, but it was just reminding me of a Muse song. And synth chords, because it had like a pretty, I don't want to say simple synth, but just like a very recognizable synth. Next we have probably my favorite, L'amour de ma vie, and wow, this one is just like so jazzy. Jazz chord progression and singing, I mean, that kind of speaks for itself, but the progression is very jazz. Her singing, oh my gosh, she needs to make more jazz songs, or like jazzy songs. She does it so well. And I also put 80s synth house beat because of the ending. It is giving 80s synth house beat. I wrote polka beat because it has that like waltz 3 feel of just like, you know what I mean? Polka beat. Amusement park music, honestly, this one's like I don't want to say the weirdest one, but the most unique one, I think, off the track. I feel like every album has like that one that is just like the outlier, the one that just like sounds completely different than all the rest, and it's definitely this one. So I think it was just giving amusement park music to me. And I said French ? Because I believe they have I don't know if it's a synth or if it's an actual accordion, but when I think of accordion, I think of France, and that's why I wrote French. I wrote synth chords because it starts out with these like so beautiful synth chords, and I'm a lover of synth in music. I love synth. I use it a lot in my own music. And I wrote polka beat again because it kind of like gives that like polka beat, and trap drums because the drums sound trap. And said EDM synths because the synths sound like synths in an EDM song. Last but not least, we have Blue, which I remember they said this one was a combination of like a song they wrote a long time ago that they kind of like reimagined into this song, Blue. For this one, as you can see, I wrote 2 genres, pop, alt, because I don't know, it was just reminding me a little bit of pop, a little bit of alt, because it probably like alt pop or something. Soft piano, because there's soft piano. Trap beat into strings. Now I think that this part is so cool because they honestly have this like sick beat that just goes into strings, and it's like so beautiful. It's the string melody from the first song, Skinny, so the fact that they just like tie it all up, first track to last track, and then obviously it will go into the first track again with the strings and the melody. They have the theme from the first song sprinkled in the last song, and it just goes into that string movement, which is just so lyrical. I also love strings in music as well, and I love classical music, so that's why I also love this album so much, because I just love the use of strings in music, and I don't think a lot of artists do it enough or do it well enough, and I'm just so glad they got real strings in this song, like real live strings. It just, nothing beats the sound of anything live, but especially strings. So that was my little album analysis, not technical whatsoever, and I just truly think that she deserves album of the year. I really do, and just like different from her previous 2, I think that should be an account of like how different it is from your other music, and I think that could be the reason why she wins. I think she should win. Thanks for watching this, and I hope you are enjoying these videos. I will be making more. This is so fun, and I hope the sunglasses were a vibe, because I think they're a vibe.